Okay, let's go.
All right, today we're going to dive into the super intense, no fluff business philosophy of billionaire Mark Cuban. We're going to distill his core principles for winning no matter what industry you're in. And it all kicks off with one pretty brutal piece of advice. Let's get right into it. So, this one quote, it really sets the stage for his entire mindset. This isn't just about working hard. Nope. It's about working with this relentless, almost defensive urgency. You have to assume that your biggest competitor is spending every single waking moment trying to figure out how to crush you. This isn't just motivation, it's a survival strategy.
And that whole survival strategy is built on one simple foundation, something Cuban calls the outwork ethic.
So here's Cuban's whole take on it, and it's so direct. You can't control the market. You can't control your luck. You can't control if your competitors have natural advantages. The one and only thing you have total control over is your effort. So your greatest advantage has to come from outworking, outlearning, and just being better prepared than everybody else in the room. But, it's not just about grinding it out 24/7. That raw effort has to be pointed in the right direction by intelligence. In fact, Cuban argues that the combination of effort and brains, or more importantly, the lack of them, is the ultimate formula for failure. So you gotta ask, right? What does a guy who's seen thousands and thousands of pitches think is the number one reason businesses just die? It's not because of a lack of funding, and it's not usually a bad idea. And he boils it down to something so simple, it's kind of brutal. Businesses fail because you either don't know enough about your industry, or you're not willing to put in the work to learn. It's this lethal combination of ignorance and, frankly, laziness. And he kind of splits this into two camps, right? The lack of brains part means you're just uninformed. You're the person asking questions you really should already know the answers to. And the lack of effort part, that means you're just getting out-hustled. Your competitors are doing the work, and they're learning faster than you.
And this is the kicker. You can't fake it. According to Cuban, that old saying, there are no stupid questions, totally wrong in business. Asking a really basic question doesn't show you're curious. It just proves you didn't do your homework.
Okay, so once you actually know your industry inside and out, you can focus on his next big idea. You need to cultivate this deep but productive sense of paranoia about your competition.
And this is the question he's always asking himself. Instead of just focusing on his own plan, he literally puts himself in the shoes of his biggest rival and starts planning how they could destroy his business. It's all about seeing the threats before they even happen. So how do you actually do this? Well, he breaks it down into three pretty clear steps. First, you have to be brutally honest about your own weaknesses. Second, you start thinking about how other people are going to try to exploit them. And third, and this is a big one, you never ever get arrogant and dismiss the people trying to take you down. So at the end of the day, the thing that should keep you up at night isn't just that a competitor launched a new product. It's the fear that someone else out there knows more about your customers, your market, and your industry than you do. That is the real threat. Okay, so if knowledge is your weapon, what exactly should you be learning? For Cuban, it all comes down to learning what he calls the fundamental language of business. And Cuban does not mince words here. He thinks that whole drop out of college and build an empire story is super dangerous. Why? Because it usually means people are skipping the foundational stuff, how a business actually works. For him, you've got to be fluent in these four core areas. You don't have to be an accountant, but you have to understand accounting, because accounting is the language that every single business speaks. If you don't get it, you're starting with a massive handicap. But here's the thing, and this is so important. It wasn't just about the diploma or the classes. The real value he got from his education was that it taught him how to learn. In a business world that changes constantly, just having that thirst to go get new information is the most valuable skill you can have. Right, so all this knowledge, all this theory, it's completely useless if you don't do anything with it. So how do you turn that theory into action? For Cuban, it all starts with one very simple goal. Go get your first customer. And his model for this is this super simple but really powerful little loop. 1, don't wait for it to be perfect, just get a customer. 2, learn from how they actually use your thing. 3,
Use that feedback to make it better. And 4, repeat that whole process so you can get the next customer even faster. It's all about building that momentum.
And look, he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. When he bought the Dallas Mavericks, he didn't just go hire a sales team. The new billionaire owner sat down with a phone and a list and started making cold calls himself. He was showing everyone that he would never ask someone to do a job that he wasn't willing to do. Okay, so you've got the effort, you've got the knowledge, you've got that healthy paranoia. It all comes together in this one final idea, understanding what your unique personal advantage actually is. See, Cuban thinks success is this powerful mix of two things. First, there's your innate talent. Some people are just naturally wired for business, kind of like some athletes are just genetically gifted. But that talent is pretty useless without disciplined focus, that will to practice relentlessly, like the NBA legend Dirk Nowitzki, who took his natural height and combined it with an unbelievable work ethic. And you can see this play out in his own life, right from the beginning. He was that kid who was just wired for business. By the time he was 12, he wasn't just playing with baseball cards. He was buying and selling them, repackaging them to make a profit, learning the fundamentals of business on a park bench. That was his training ground. So when you boil it all down, Cuban's advice really just flips the question right back to you. You can choose to put in the effort, you can choose to get the knowledge and stay paranoid, but that final piece is your unique skill. So the real question is, what is it? And are you willing to apply that brutal level of discipline you need to win?